Tuesday. Welcome to the spot, the Stacked After Hours spot. I am your host, Natalie Cosby, and welcome to the show for Grown Folk Talk. So tonight, we are talking about colorism. Let's talk about it. I know it's going to be a lot to unpack tonight. So y'all get ready, get your cocktails and those fingertips loose because we want to hear your comments tonight. And here at Side, we keep it what, y'all? Lit and enlightening. So let's get into it. Where's my girl? Where is my girl? There she is. Hey, sunshine. I love how they got the fairy dust for you now. I love the fairy dust. So sunshine, this topic, first of all, it was hard to find folks. Let's be clear.
I know.
People are I realize it's a lot. It's a lot, and you have to be really brave and confident with what you are. But colorism.
Yes.
Colorism.
I'm glad we actually got back to this topic because I think we did, before we got to YouTube Live, we did do a kind of version of this, but I'm kind of glad that we got to talk about it again.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in 2022, it's still an issue.
Girl, you would think that that's like 20th century issue.
I know.
No, it's not. Because I think it's carried with us, right? I think it's carried.
Yes. And as I was telling you, I kind of stopped posting you guys for a little bit. Not because I'm embarrassed of you guys.
I'm embarrassed. It's okay. I'm not offended.
It's okay, but when the feedback is like, "Oh, you always with them light-skinned girls."
What does that mean, though? You always with them light-skinned girls?
Them rich light-skinned girls. I mean, there's an association between light skin and being rich in some areas, of course. And I kind of had to take a step back because I was like, wait a minute, are all my friends, or have all my friends been light-skinned? So I went all the way back to Antigua and I'm like, wait a second. I have my Jasmine and Mika and Rochelle. And I'm like, wait a second. I'm calling their names out. And I'm like, sorry, girls, but y'all light skin. And I'm like, wait a minute. Have I intentionally been doing that? Or kind of like, what? What is that? And then I know you asked me that question of, like, on a scale of 1 to 5, where do I see myself? I see myself as straight down in the middle, 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
2.5.
In terms of light versus dark.
Right.
Right. And so
on the color spectrum, whatever that is, on the brown color spectrum, you're a 2.5.
Yeah.
You're a macchiato.
I consider myself the chocolate of the light skin spectrum.
Okay.
Like the chocolate of the light skin spectrum.
What have you been attracted to, though?
I've always been attracted to, like, the black of the berry. For me, it's the sweet of the juice for me. I've always been, and I don't know if it has anything to do with my mother, my father. My mother was really, really light. My father was really dark. So I don't know if that sort of combination, I was always intrigued by it, but never was the one to say, like, oh, that guy has like some S curls or some curls or texture or no, never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is funny. I was thinking about this whole topic and I was like, I don't have any colorism. And then I'm like, I do. We all do. And somebody's just like, well, you're light skinned and you privileged. And I was like, yes, my color has put me in. I think I talked about this today in my post. Put me in certain circles.
Yes.
But I still felt like I was the odd man out because of not necessarily my color, but like feature wise and hair wise and all of that, especially going up into Kentucky, because it's just not light skin. Like you got like Gina light skin and you got Vanessa Williams light skin. There's a difference.
There is a difference.
There's a difference. And when we're talking about what attraction is really interesting. And then you have your darker sisters who are like it was funny. I use my best friend. She's a brown girl. she was very pretty, ladylike, whatever, whatever. But the men would always go to her, not necessarily me,
And
And
this
so
is in Kentucky.
this is in Kentucky, but she was very refined and such a like there was a regalness to her, even when we were teenagers. And I think about it, and I'm just like, I always be in the corner dancing, just like doing me. But it was never. And I said this because I feel, not saying I was an awkward looking child in my mind, and it probably showed outwardly.
Uh-huh.
So it's just like, I think I'm fine, right? But
You,
when you
you
think
are fine because
I'm fine, like I like my face, I like how I look and all this other stuff. But when you're light skinned and you have African features, like there's no thin lips, there's no straight nose, you're like, people never mistake me as being anything other but black.
I think when I had my hair perm, they would probably be like, "You Spanito or whatever,"
Mhm.
But that's the most. I've never gotten mistaken for like, "Oh, you what you mixed with" or anything like that. Never.
Right.
Um,
But then you had those, even in Kentucky, like you had the folks that would pinch their nose to make sure their nose didn't get, like, it's a whole lot of shit that comes on top of being, besides with colorism,
but
right?
it's funny you say that. I have in my own family, there's some that were very conscious of who they would marry, who they would have kids with,
Mhm.
because they wanted their kids to have soft hair. They wanted their kids to be light skinned. When we travel to the Caribbean, it's a lot of sun. There's a lot of people that would be like, stay out of the sun. I don't want to get dark.
Yeah.
Um, there was always like this competition whose child was lighter than who, and all that sort of stuff. So, uh,
You know what? Malik, I'm gonna get you. One of our in-house panelists. Wait, you ladies are black. I thought y'all were Latinas. Y'all light complexions. I can't. But yes.
but I don't think I've ever gotten mistaken for like any other thing. But what I could say, I was the one that got chosen last, not because of light skin or dark skin or anything, but because of my size. I've always been a taller than most of my
Right.
friends, bigger than most of my friends. So of course everyone gravitated to the smaller girls.
Right.
That's the type of maybe discrimination that I felt, but not anything in terms of, light skin versus dark skin. And then now, hanging out with you ladies,
You know
I'm
what?
not the one that stands out most of the time. I'm not the one that turned the head. If all of us are standing together, I'm not the one turning the heads first.
I'm not either.
Can you admit it?
I can
Hello?
admit it. But like I said, I think part of it with the whole light skin, dark skin, I'm not talking about you, but I think it's also like self-acceptance, right?
Right, right, right. But I'm
Right.
saying,
But like I said, like I think, I'm not saying you, like you turn heads, girl. I think
I do. Don't get me wrong. But
you
if I'm
do.
standing with y'all, I ain't turning the heads first.
No. Oh, neither am I.
What?
They turn, let's be clear. Like, let's be clear.
Natalie, first of all,
What?
I'm gonna put your ass on the spot because I
Go
walked
ahead.
Fulton Street one time with you. I was
It's
walking down
the booty. Don't be mistaken by the booty.
Natalie. I
It's
was
the booty.
walking down Fulton Street with your ass, and I was like, "Why are they looking at
You
us?"
have to take off her glasses, y'all.
I
Ah!
was like, "Oh, it's not me, it's Natalie."
That's not.
Okay, you don't remember that day?
Girl, it's Fulton Street in Brooklyn. The homeless men, let me not say the homeless men don't count, but like, come on. Like, really?
Being modest, but to be honest, I mean, let's not veer off from the topic. I mean, um, somebody did say last night, there's a group of light skinned girls, and then there's like maybe one dark skinned person, and they were talking about how, that one person or token, that I think he called it like a token dark skinned person amongst the group, is always he thought, or that's what he observed, they were treated differently, which I'm not seeing at all.
Right, but like I said, from a man's perspective, it's really interesting. Let's, you know what? Because we could talk about
They're
this.
seeing it
Let's
different.
bring in the panel because you know what? We have a beautiful elderly sister that's going to talk to us about our elder,
Mhm.
about her experience. So let's bring them in. New to the show, she is our elder, and she's an award-winning writer and author, Miss Betty Baye. Miss Betty on the show tonight, y'all. Hallelujah.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes,
How
yes,
are
yes.
you? How are you, girl?
He
Good.
is our Bob Marley of Stats After Hours. Welcome back,
Molly.
Keith Walker. He's a Marley. He's one of Bob's long lost whatever.
Yes.
He had a
Yes.
Haitian heritage son somewhere.
Good
Keith.
evening, people. How y'all doing?
Hey, Keith.
Hey,
And then finally, fishing and fitness is a form of relaxing therapy. Let's welcome to the show, new to the show,
Hey.
aka Lenny Lowe Jackson. Hello, everybody. So, y'all, with this colorism thing, right? Let's just talk about some of the assumptions, right? Because I think that's what we were talking about earlier. What are some of the assumptions that y'all have just been? Yes, peace, y'all in New York is in the building. Thank you, Etha. What are some of the assumptions that y'all have been experiencing, just are made or experienced with this whole colorism thing?
Who's up first? Go ahead.
Go ahead, Miss Betty. Ladies first.
yeah. Well, I am from another generation.
It's all right.
I was thinking while I was listening to you in Sunshine. I grew up in the projects in New York, and as I recall, there weren't very many light-skinned girls in my crew. It was like everybody in the project was like dark skinned. I don't know what, as I think about it, and I do remember that the most vicious fights that I had, and you fight a lot.
You fight a lot in the projects. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
you have to, or you don't survive.
Got you.
But I had one friend, and she was a little bit lighter. She was probably maybe Keith's complexion or better, but she was like lighter than the rest of us. And we fought off and on until the day she was pregnant with her first child. I mean, it
Wow.
just was like, it started in the fourth grade when I moved there. And I remember her think she would always call me like black and, whatever. And I was under the illusion that I was always cute. So, I
You
mean,
are
to me,
beautiful.
you know how they
You
have that
are
expression,
cute.
well, you
Miss
just a
Betty, you're
waste of
beautiful.
yellow because you light skinned, but you ain't fine. I'm cute. I'm dark. You know what I'm saying? And so you come up with all these expressions, but it was very much there was a consciousness of it. But because of where I grew up, a lot of us were dark skinned girls. When I went to high school, it was getting exposed to more people. But I will never forget that, in your high school yearbook, you write like your favorite thing. And they put down, or I don't know what I did, they did it, that my favorite thing was Blue Eyed Boys. And and really it wasn't Blue Eyed Boys, it was the guy who was my boyfriend had blue eyes. So it wasn't like all the boys. And we ended up, getting married. And in my experience, I found that the dark skinned guys really weren't in hot pursuit of me. They would roll over me to get to one light skinned girl in the back or whatever. But
She was
but
in the back.
right. But my dad was from the South. He moved to New York. My father was very color conscious, and he didn't trust light skinned people because he felt like they were going to call us black. So he had this whole thing with my husband Brian, and I could say that one of the things about Brian is his family was color struck, but he was. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It didn't
Yes.
matter to him.
Miss
And
Betty,
like the more they hated me, like the more he loved me.
Right.
And he was very fair. And my father was like, why don't you just bring home a white boy and
Ooh.
you it over with. 'Cause that's
Oh, wow. Wow.
yeah.
Damn.
Brian was fair. He was, and my father thought that it was gonna like tangle me up with a bunch of people that didn't like dark skinned people.
So he
But
didn't want you in, did he not want you in a particular crowd of people that weren't going to appreciate you and your beauty?
right.
Is that what he took it
I
as?
think
Okay.
it was his way of trying to be protective, because I think when you come, a lot of people black people that come out of the South, they can remember that light-skinned people were tended to be treated better than dark-skinned people. And I think that even when the boys were dating a lot of the darker boys, it's like their mothers or somebody told them that I was not the one that was going to lift the family up. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of them, and I mean, as I think about it, they were really thinking about what they considered the best interest of the children.
Right.
And
Well, that's what I
later,
think about your children.
they would
Who
have
you
a better
marrying.
time in life than being dark. And I think that's so that's the way it was in the 50s and the 60s. And I think that being dark then as now, I think you really do have to have high self-esteem to walk through the world, because I still think that
It's
like
still
dark-skinned girls are thought of as the thugs, as the girl at the back of the line, the loudest one at the party, the whole thing. There's still that image. And
Yeah.
it's the videos, you see the light-skinned girls are beloved, and the black-skinned girls, the dark-skinned girls are in the background shaking their asses and
Right.
doing all of that.
So Miss Betty, because we're gonna talk a little bit more about that. Lenny, what is it? Because you are the blue-eyed, green-eyed bandit. Look, I'm making all kinds of assumptions. Go on.
You're on mute, Lenny.
Put my glasses on so I can get this bad. But hold on.
We hear you.
We can hear you now.
Oh, you said I was on mute. All right.
You was.
Look, I've been listening to this and Miss Betty and her stories from being a different generation and coming up. And I was listening to you, Sunshine, and Natalie speaking, before the panel came in. And, I chuckled quite a bit because I can understand and relate. What it all boils down to, in my personal opinion, is that this sadly is some perpetuated bullshit amongst our own people.
Yeah.
And it's really, really sad and unfortunate. And it has created a divide within our own community. And I, honest to God, believe that it has matriculated from the days of slavery to where we are right now.
Yep.
The darker hued Black folks tend to look at us light-skinned folks as being, in their mind, better, or as Black people say towards white people, what's the term they're using right now? Privileged. Because of our skin tone, which is the most absurd shit in the world to me. Now, I can get defensive with this because I've been dealing with this my entire life, right?
All my
life. So I've gotten to the point right now where I joke and I say, look, I'm not light skinned. I say I'm dark as Japhet Kotto. I just suffer from damn vitiligo. So don't mess with me. That's my go. That's my go-to. But then even that, you find yourself. The thing that irritates me the most about dealing with this colorism is when you meet people for the very first time who happen to be of the darker hue, and the very first thing they want to say to me is, "Oh, look at this light-skinned dude. Oh, here come the light-skinned bros. The light-skinned this, the light-skinned that. Yeah. Just you don't even know me. You've just met me 3 minutes ago. We just dapped up and said what's up, right?" So then I kind of chuckle it off, but then they continue to go on. So now I've gotten to the point where I've got to come back. And I look, check this out, Slim. The only reason I'm light-skinned, the only reason I'm here is because your folks back in the day in Africa didn't fight hard enough. You know what I'm saying? When the white folks came, when the white folks came, what'd you do? You ran, or you were in cahoots and you sold me off. And then once the boat left, y'all niggas just looked, didn't bother to come get me. So now here we are, merged, and I'm a byproduct of that. So look, don't hate on me because I'm light skinned. Hate yourself. Now let's get beyond that mess. What's your issue? Why are you intimidated by me? Why do you feel the need to speak on my color from the jump? I've never said anything to you about your color.
It sounds like insecurity. It sounds like insecurity.
Yeah, it definitely is insecurity because the darker folk dudes tend to, again, look at us, whether you're male or female, and think that we have it so much more easier than them. What they fail to realize is that on the flip side, from the white side, so we're now getting it not only from us or from white folks. Dark black people, brown skinned black people, as soon as you look at them, you know what they are. There's no question of, is your mother white? Is your father white? Yeah. White folks look at me, black folks look at me. You can see him looking like
what he is.
Right. Can I ask you something?
Look, I think
Exactly. What's in your family?
Can I ask you something? Like, is someone white in your family? So then, why? What difference does that make? Well, the answer is no. But what difference does that really make? And I hate this shit. And what's unfortunate is that I've seen it with young kids because the cycle just continues to go on and on and on and on. But I'm not going to hog up your time. I'm going to let Cool Keith jump on.
But that's good.
No, that is awesome.
But what's funny is it's similar to Lenny's perspective on it. You know, growing up in New Orleans, it's a very different mix because I think we talked about this before, and I think you, Sunshine, you were kind of bringing it up, is that you're the chocolate one of the light-skinned people, and that's how I always saw myself, as the darker hue, because everybody in my family is Lenny's color or lighter. So for me, I'm the black sheep. So there's a little bit of stigmatism that goes with you may get treated better or you get different privileges because of how you look. But I think it kind of goes back to what you were saying, Lenny, that this shit is generational. And I don't know why we can't get past the fact that, you know, like the young people say now, if you're acting bougie or privileged, you're acting light skinned. That's ridiculous. There's no such thing. You're acting bougie and whatever. It has nothing to do with your skin complexion because, you know, you can be as down as you want to be or as uppity as you want to be, no matter what you are, no matter what your color is. And that's the crazy part about it. And it's funny, Nat, that you brought that up, that today in this time frame, we're still talking about this. Yeah. This is a crazy thing that we have not gotten past as a people, that we can't see. Look, to your point, Lenny, when it comes to white people or black people, white people know you black. That's it. They know you not them. And then within us, we got issues with us. And why do we got issues with us? I think that's one of the things that we probably should be talking about, is saying, you know, well, why do we have these systemic issues still in this day and time after 200 years past slavery? What's going on with us? We need to elevate ourselves.
Exactly. I think the thing is, it's just like, how has it affected our outlook as we have aged, right? I mean, you know, it's trivial. You know that it's not real, but it plays a part in some form of life. I don't know, for some people daily, for some people when they go in social circles, they start to feel it or hear, like Lenny, just like, what are you? I got a lot of that when I moved to New York. Are you Dominican? Are you Puerto Rican? Both my parents are black. No, they not. Yes, they are. No, they not. I was like, I'm telling you, now they light skinned, but they are that. Right? Well, I'm Puerto Rican. I was like, oh, so you a Puerto Rico?
Yeah.
Exactly. Last time I checked, you black.
Yeah. But you know, but this is worldwide. I think we ought to understand that all of this grows out of colonialism.
Right.
And everywhere that it's been colonized, in Africa and South America, the whole fetish, Brazil, all of these places, the value is placed on the whiter, the closer to white is still like the higher value. That still exists. When you go to Africa, you see the signs for the lightening cream. I did a story in Jamaica one time about the bleaching that was going on. So people and Lenny said something, but there are a lot of people who are doing stuff and they are saying they have vitiligo because they are really trying to be lighter. And I think that when we say, sometimes as Black Americans, we feel like it's just us, but this is a worldwide thing. You look at the beauty contests and stuff, and people come from these Black ass countries, but the person that represents the country doesn't look like what the country should look like.
Nothing.
It's all colonialism, and it still grows from where the white woman especially was placed in terms of her value compared to the value of the people who are being colonized. So the Indians have it, I have a friend of mine, a white guy, his daughter's red hair, white girl, married a black ass Indian. I mean, from India. He is blacker than anybody in my family. I doubt that she would have married a black ass black American man. She married an Indian man. So all over the world, you know, and I was looking at some of the videos, Natalie, and it was talking about, you know, women in the Middle East. You know, the darker you are, it is like a product of it. And I'm not sure that it's going to go away easily, though I do think that with considering all of the mixing that's going on, that's more prevalent now, there may come a time when there may not be these issues because there's a whole lot of mixing going on. And
Yes.
so it'll be a little bit harder for people to sort of put people in a box.
But you know what? I don't necessarily know if it will ever still go away, because I think human beings are just we are really brainwashed into these standards of beauty, especially, and I'm talking about Black folks tonight, because I for us, to me, it really is prevalent on a social level, on even in relationships, and how Black women are valued, and even how Black men are valued, right? Because sometimes, like, Black women are just like, oh, he's dark, he's fine, he's strong, he's such and such. If he's light skinned, you know,
So here's the thing. Here's the thing
Larry.
that bothers me the most about all of this, right? And I agree with everything you said. All of this stuff continues to be perpetuated by educated Black people. There are so many people with degrees and advanced degrees and professional degrees that continue to spew this bullshit every day. It is astonishing to me that we as a people, especially educated people, are still so caught up in throwing that stuff out, and they do it with a smile, almost as if they're trying to make light of it, like, hey, I'm just joking about it. No, because you say this too often. You can't say the same thing repeatedly and it be a joke. This is what you believe. This is what you personally believe.
Let me ask you a question. Is there a specific aesthetic that you like, or do you have a preference to? Tall, short, thin, you know, athletic?
Me personally? No,
Yeah,
I like women. If I'm attracted to you visually, I don't care if you're white, dark, Asian. I don't care what your skin tone is. When I look at you, sure, I see if you are Black, white, Middle Eastern, whatever the case may be, I'm able to decipher that. But once it comes down to the skin tone, now I'm not going to say, you know, I'm attracted to, like, you know, pale, bland, you know, unseasoned chicken. Nah, that's what I'm attracted, or no, that's not what I'm attracted to. So I don't have an issue with a person's color or their skin tone.
I think go ahead. I think what has happened now, we've moved into this exotic pedestal, right?
Yeah.
It's everything that's like ambiguously doesn't look Black, but wants to claim something else, right?
Exactly.
So it's more than sin, especially when we're talking about attraction. It's like hair, body, skin tone. Is your hair silken? Are those features keen? Like I grew up on them features keen. Well, she cute for a dark skinned girl because she got keen features. That's fucked up.
No, it is.
Yeah,
And
it
you're right,
is.
Nat. And I think part of the issue is that we've been brainwashed into thinking certain things. And to Miss Betty's point, it goes back to colonialism. And now we're at this kind of crust that says, well, now if you look exotic, meaning that you look mixed, or you look extremely one particular race, let's say like really dark skin with really short hair, now that's more of in, because guess what? That looks different from everybody else. So now it's cool to be different.
yeah.
Before, when it was in the 80s, before that, you know, especially when we were growing up in high school, it was like if you didn't look like the DeBarges, you weren't getting any chicks. You got
Elder
to be
Bob.
light skinned with curly hair. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, but now, you know, and when we went through college, it was like, again, blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. And it started getting to that point to where, again, it becomes more popular to be dark skinned. Because we were talking about that, I think, last night, that the,
I think for men, let's be
yeah,
specific.
and that's what I was going to say. For men, what we saw was the Vanessa Williams. What we saw was the Ginas. Gina is, you know, what we would call light skin cute. She's not really cute, but she light skinned. So she might be able to get some play.
But
You know
see,
what I'm saying?
but see, even right now, Keith, you're still keeping it alive. Talking about the light skin. Now, I know you're saying that in reference to back in the day,
Yeah,
but it's she's cute for a light skinned chick. She's cute for a dark skin. What the hell is that?
But
exactly. But that's what I'm saying. That's how we were socialized to think
Yeah,
about it. It was
Yeah.
that's how our brains were
and I think
brainwashed
that's
into
how a
that's
lot
what
of
it
us,
is.
and unfortunately, a lot of, I'm not saying most, well, let me say this. A lot of society thinks somewhere in that, even though it's not realistic, it's so interesting. I know Miss Betty, you want to say something.
no, I simply wanted to say that I think that what happens is that what we see, we don't get to see all the weddings that go on with just folk just getting married. What's put in front of us. I remember looking at this thing of the NBA players and their wives,
Oh yeah.
their girlfriends, and it was shockingly the same.
They
I
all look,
mean, you
yeah.
could almost replace one with the other. And nobody was really black, but they looked like some mix of something. And it's sort of like that's put in front of you, Michael Jordan, black with the white woman, this one with the Chicano woman, this one,
Oh,
Dave
geez. Don't
Chappelle's
be
wife
picking
is
up
Asian.
Michael Jordan now.
Yeah, David Chappelle's wife is Asian. Charlie Wilson's wife is some, I don't know, some kind of Asian. So it's sort of like you we see these celebrities, and that becomes maybe like a worldview, and we miss all the other folks that just going about their business and falling in love. And I have to say to Lenny, you look shockingly like my first husband. I don't know what color
Hey,
your
boo.
eyes are, but you look very much like Brian. And I think that there's a different experience for light-skinned men than it is for light-skinned women. I don't think it's quite the same. Like when you say how the dark-skinned brothers come at you like that, like, hey man, you the light-skinned brothers. But I think light-skinned women, and I think you've heard me say this before, I learned that my light-skinned girlfriends caught more hell than I ever imagined, because I thought that life for them was like fabulous because they would pull the men. But the number of them who were men were with them only for what they looked like,
Right.
only for their complexion, and
Right.
some of the suffering that they did in terms of trying to be who they were. And nobody was interested in that. They were just interested in, she's light skinned, she got long hair. And so I've learned, I think it was about 21 when it dawned on me that light skinned girls go through a lot of shit simply because they were considered the pretty girls, and some of the men who chased them were not. After they got them, it became abusive, so
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So my oldest daughter, she's 20. She is a junior at University of Kentucky in Lexington. How about that, Natalie?
Hey.
Right. So so we're from DC, right? All my daughters have been going through the whole Jack and Jill circle and all that other stuff. And,
Mhm.
they have a mixed circle of friends from going through public schools and high schools and just their social group, right? So she gets up to UK, and her freshman year, she's struck down by COVID. So everyone is just confined to the dorm because there's no activity on campus. So as you can imagine, in Lexington, the majority of the kids up there are white.
Yeah.
So that's who she, hung with because that's who she saw with on a regular basis. As the school starts to open back up, the black folks are now looking at her and asking her what we're talking about right now. Are you black? Are you white? Because she's fair skinned. She has blue eyes, great, hazel blue, green eyes, and all that other stuff. And she told me that she is having the most difficult time making friends with black girls and black boys because they are constantly asking her and questioning her blackness. Whereas the white folks, they're like, look, we are accepting you for who you are. We embrace you. So if you were to look at her, at all her pictures, you would say this chick is the token black chick because she's hanging around. If there are 10 people in the picture, it's her and maybe one or two other black people. The rest are white, right? And this because of our own doing, our own abuse towards ourselves. And I feel so sorry for it because she's like, I can't make friends because they won't accept me for who and what I am.
Right.
So let me ask a question about that. Let me ask a question about that. So growing up the way I did, what I saw was you had light skinned parts of my family that would either overcompensate to prove how black they were
Oh,
versus some of those that wanted to be more on the I'm on the light skin side. So I guess Lenny,
What
as a
does that
light
mean
skinned brother,
on the license side? Like
on the light
they
skin side, meaning like embracing the privilege of, I'm
oh,
better than
okay.
anybody else because, I'm light skinned. So, Lenny, in your experience, have you seen that? Because it sounds like that's kind of what your daughter may be going through, is almost like she has to prove to her black friends how black she really is because people question that. And the reason why I'm asking that question is because my daughters are light skinned too. And I know they've had to go through some of the same things to where they have to prove how black they actually are to black people.
Well, to answer your question in a long drawn out way, no, she doesn't feel the need to prove herself because I have instilled enough confidence in her, and she is already fully aware of who she is.
Good.
From her grandparents being deeply, deeply involved in, the civil rights movement, to us making sure that she is included in Black culture and that she's never had any type of doubt as to where she fell in line. So no, she doesn't feel a need to, prove herself. She's pretty much like, if you can't vibe with me, then fuck it. I don't need to be around you. I mean,
Right.
I don't need you. I don't
Good.
need you. And those people who genuinely, authentically, and organically, you know, come into your life because of who you are and not what you are, what your skin color is, are the true friends that you will carry for the rest of your life. So everyone else, it's just, man, go on. Man, go ahead. Go ahead.
the, the other thing I also wanted to talk about as well, because, and I'm glad that you guys are bringing up, the kids and what your kids are experiencing now. But as a child, and growing up in little island of Antigua, my sister is, of course, a darker a hue than I am. And what people used to do to us was compare. So we
Mhm.
would go somewhere and somebody would say something like, "Oh, I know what happened. You were born in the day and you were born in the night.
Oh yeah.
That's the darker one and that's the lighter one." So she always felt like there was something wrong with her because me and my bigger sister were lighter skin
Yeah.
and she was darker. So she always felt that there was something wrong with her because grown-ups were,
Limit.
pointing it out.
Mhm.
For
Mhm.
me, I think kids are off limit. When you meet my child, you should be, "Hi, how are you doing? You guys are so beautiful." But don't tell me who's better looking or who's lighter or who's darker. And that a lot of that went on with us as we grew up. And I think, it has caused, of course, some divide as we got older, but perpetuating that thing, as what Lenny was saying, we need to stop perpetuating the same cycle over and over again. And at some point, I mean, we can't get away from it 100%, but it's got to start somewhere.
But we need to understand that there is pain in being black. Period.
regardless
If
whether
you're a
you are
light
light
skinned
or I
black
agree.
person, there's pain. If you're the dark skinned person, there is pain. And a
Yes.
lot of this pain, depending on, now, Lenny said, how he raised his daughter. I know how my father, raised me. So my sense of myself was always, bigger than whatever they thought about little dark skinned girls back in the 50s. But I did have my moments when I would, say to myself, well, why is this not happening to me? And I can remember being at the newspaper where I worked for many years. And I remembered the way I got treated compared to the way my friend Marianne French got treated, who was light skinned with the blue eyes. And the white people sort of, they just assumed certain things. Marianne wasn't buying into it. But when they found out that her father was a surgeon, and you know what I'm saying, it was like a whole different level of the way they were treating us. So I just, like I said, I think that there is pain in being black. I think for black people,
Yes.
most of us who don't get therapy, we have every right to be as sick as I think some of us are, because
Mm.
some of that stuff just starts. It starts in your house. It starts early. And so we are so damaged in so many ways, and so loving ourselves is almost like a challenge,
Yes.
depending on where you are. So we have to struggle with these issues. But it took me a while to really understand that it is the blackness that is the pain, because sometimes when you are the lightest one in the room, people think, oh, your grandmother was raped. There could have been like maybe these two people really liked each other or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
so you got the field nigga and the house nigga. I mean, all of this sort
Yep.
of
And it's a
imagery.
constant battle.
And
Yeah.
so it is a constant battle. And even though we don't want to talk about it, we really do have to, and they say in church, you have to arm your children in the full armor of God. And I
Amen.
think anybody that tries to shield their children from the reality of what's going to happen to them based on what they look like are really not equipping them for the world, whether it's the light-skinned child or the dark child. You got to prepare them for the world that is and not the ideal world that you want to be. And let them know that these things may happen to you, baby, because you got blue eyes, because you know what I'm saying? Because you're the darkest girl, because you look like, and I tell you the truth, a lot of people upset about it, but I am glad for the arrival of so many Africans in Hollywood and on the modeling track, because the dark-skinned girls can see themselves being jet black and still being a top model when it wouldn't have happened before. And you know how the women swoon over Idris Elba, like what is that?
Not anymore.
Right. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I swoon over him too, but I'm too old. But the point is
You ain't never too old, Miss
Miss
Betty.
Betty, you still get it.
at Michael Ealy and go, damn, he's fine. You know what I'm saying? So it's sort of like it's a sickness. And we have to prepare them as much as we prepare them to deal with the police when they go out in the street. We got to prepare them for the color patrol that's out there.
Well, I want to talk about, and that's a good way of putting it, Miss Betty, the color patrol within us, right? Because what it is like we are constantly, and I've been guilty of it, trying to fit in these, and Lenny, you talked about it, educated Black folks. Like we so educated, sometimes we too good for our own damn good, and we end up in these shells of just judgment and just perpetuating just to fit in, like really, well, it's really like crabs in a barrel mentality, because that's where it really comes into.
I wanted to ask each of you on the panel though, when you were younger or now, well, not now, because I think everybody's grown and mature and
there's nothing going on in my life, so it's not now. I'm just running my mouth. I'm not dating. I don't know.
No, but at any point when you were younger, did you wish you looked different? Did you wish you were lighter or darker? Did you wish you had longer hair, straighter hair? Did you
I think that anyone on this panel that answers that question and say no, they're lying. I think at some point in our young lives, we all wanted to look different. We wanted to have something added to us. We wanted to have something taken away or something.
Yeah.
So, nah.
No,
Y'all
that'd
better-
be fact, funny. Yeah, I was gonna say for me, it was the same thing. So again, growing up in the environment that I did and being around, people who were more fair skinned and having a grandmother, who was color struck, I saw the difference in how she treated my brother versus me. So yeah, I did want to be, when I was a little kid, I wanted to be light skinned too, because I was like, well, I'm still me. Why can't I get treated the same way? Why don't I get these hugs? Why don't I get these extra biscuits, given to him that he's getting to me? What's wrong with me? So you're right. It did give me issues. And yeah, I used to want to be, I wanted my hair to be different. And then I also wanted to be light skinned. But what was funny about that, Sunshine, since you brought that up, I had an uncle, on my mom's side of the family. He was the darkest one, a little bit lighter than me, about the same color, but they called him Blackie, which was so weird. That wasn't his name, but that was his nickname because he was the darkest one.
And
so
he answered to it, no?
Absolutely. But that just goes to show you how crazy it is. And that's part of the reason why I put my hair in dreads, is because as he got to be an adult, that's what he did. We happen to have the same birthday. So I'm like, I'm following my uncle's path.
Did you ever do an S girl?
Yeah, I did actually.
You had an S girl up in there.
S girl back in the day. Because again, it was back in the 80s and you're trying to actually front and be something that you're not. And that's the sad part about it is that, especially because of how I grew up, I was like, okay, you want to be something different rather than just loving yourself. And it's environmental and not necessarily in a homeful way for my family, but it's just you see everybody else being one way and you're the one that's different. You want to fit in. You don't want to be the one that's different. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things that I think you got to deal with.
Well,
Yeah.
I wanted to be taller. Like even now, I get upset that I cannot, go in the store and just buy like a pantsuit because then you have to cut the bottom off and and all of that. So I wanted to be taller, and I know when people talk about what your preference is, I remember I just had a thing about Latino boys. I mean, I liked Puerto Rican boys. I liked Cuban boys, and and I got from my daddy that that I just like men, period. And so I don't know. It seemed like earlier in my life, a lot of the light skinned boys came after me, but the fact is that when I got older, it was the dark skinned boys. So I don't know what's going on, but I just think that I just sort of envy. I think we all have something that we envy in people, and I really envy the height, and I think that's why I always preferred like taller men, so I could just collapse into them. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
be accused of being short and taking up all the tall
It's
men.
supposed to make you feel a
Tall
little
men.
I mean,
extra.
you're talking about, the things that we change. And what I see even now, I mean, for me, it was always skinny and not have a gap and not be hairy and better and hair. Those were my three things. Like I had a mustache growing up and I
Oh,
teased
no,
about my damn
no.
goatee. It was just like dumb shit. Like, but
You
it's
said you had
funny
a
too.
goatee?
I had a girl, a whole full
You had a
situation.
goatee growing up?
I had a whole all my aunties are
Yo.
hairy. I was Aunt Bunny at 12.
Mm,
But
mm.
but
Oh,
but but clearly, and that's why you have female grooming. But anyway, um uh but one of the things that I thought about is just like when even today, like and I don't want to bring up when I think about like especially hair and
oh
the
wow.
butt, the Brazilian butt lift and all these things that these women are doing now. And when I think about it, because now it's acceptable via J Lo and Kim Kardashian for the sisters. Like I had a girlfriend of mine. She's like, "Girl, I need that butt." I was like, "Girl, you ain't had a butt all your life. Why now?" She's just like, "I just need that Serena such and such because it's gonna give." Now, this woman was beautiful, chocolate woman, but she's just like, "I need that because now it's acceptable. Before nobody cared about it." I said,
All she needs is to have somebody smack that joke a few times.
Exactly.
Oh, it'll grow.
"It'll
It'll
grow,
grow.
right?" But when I thought about it, I was just like, it's the same thing that's going on today with people, especially Black women, with the wigs and the eyelashes and the.
But you know what? I think that Nancy Wilson has this song out about 10 good years. How after you get a certain age, how she said when you're young, your nose is perpendicular, and as you get older, at least for me, it's been I like who likes me.
Mm-hmm.
So I am past the point of all of that. I like who likes me. I like
Mhm.
me, and I want who wants me. And I think that when you're younger,
For me.
sometimes you be shooting for stuff that maybe is not available to you. I know something, but as you get older and you start looking at what other values you place in people, you really do like who likes you, who has a good conversation. And like I said, when I was with David, I thought that I figured that what the world saw was a fat man, that David was big and he was like a big guy. He didn't look like that to me. So it's sort of like, and that was because of his personality, all of the things that made me happy. And then I didn't worry about what somebody else was thinking about. Wow, that's a big guy. But the fact of the matter is that I do think that you get to a point where, when you have preferences, but then you get to the point and say, you know what? I like who likes me. You like me, you make me feel good, whatever. That's where you are. And it may not fit nothing that you ever had, you know, in the past. It may not look like your pattern may have been, I always dated dark skinned men. And this big yellow boy might walk up to you and charm you, and that would be the one because he, you feel him. Because who wants to be with somebody that they may look like what your ideal is, but they treat you like shit. I don't
Right.
Right.
get that. And
Exactly.
I don't think people look cute, like somebody is cute, but then you ever seen people, women and men, they're good looking, and then they start to talk, and you go, oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
All
You
the
exactly.
all the
all the
time.
time. And then
ah,
Exactly.
that are not that appealing, but there's something about them. There's something about their inner beauty that you don't even see what it is that they look like on the outside. I appreciate that a lot.
but I
But I,
think it takes maturity to get there, because there's a time in your life when you care what other people think. You know
yes,
what I'm saying?
And I
Everybody
think that,
else,
yeah, and I think
yeah,
that goes back to that whole fitting in concept. Like you
Yeah.
need to, like you want the baddest bitch, or you want the richest dude with the best body, and he's got to
yeah.
be tall, and he's got to be this, and he's got to be that, and I'm just like,
yeah. The other thing too, Natalie, is do you find, and I don't know, Miss Betty, what like your hair looked like when you were younger, but I know I
Mm,
had mine permed and I had long hair, pretty long hair to my shoulders.
mhm.
And one of the things I found out, well, realized is that when my hair is long it was blown out and straight, there was a difference in who I attracted when I went out. And
Yeah.
then when I dyed it blonde or when I had it dark, it was a very different type of, guys that I
Mhm.
was attracting. Do you find like Miss Betty, Natalie, like when you have your hair straight, are you attracting a different type of guy or?
I remember I went home for my grandmother's funeral, and I've had natural hair I think since I was 18.
Uh-huh.
But I blew my hair out. And one of my family members is like, "Oh, you'll get a man with your hair like that." I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I needed that little tidbit just from you."
Right.
But
Yeah.
I do, yeah. Or even when my hair was blonde, yeah, I got a different type of man when it was
Yeah.
blonde and straight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, my thing is, it's just like even with the guys, like where based on, I mean, Corey, I know you are, you're spoken for, but even in your younger days and where you are now, like what's attracted to you or what you're attracted to, and also been what you have been kind of
Were
pulling now.
you the one that all the girls were
You the
flooding?
one the girl, yeah, all the girls came to and
No,
made and had certain assumptions about.
no. So, um, dark skinned girl, brown skinned girls, they never came my way. No matter how hard I wanted them, they always rejected me.
Wow.
They would always hit me with, you too light. You too light. I don't do light. I don't do light. I don't do light. I don't do light.
Wow.
All right. Right.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Wow.
yeah. To this day, promise you, no lie. The only people that will outwardly step to me or make any type of, suggestive, interest are white women.
Oh.
White women and Latin women. Black chicks don't fuck with me.
Ooh.
Why do
I,
you
li-
really?
Wow.
I literally have to sit back and engage and have a conversation with them and just be me, silly, flirtatious, but at the same time can have, a deep intellectual conversation. Then they like, oh, okay, this guy is something else. But other than that, they don't mess with me.
Somebody
Yes.
asked where did you grow up, Lenny?
I grew up in Northern Virginia. Born in DC and I grew up right across the bridge in Arlington. And then in Herndon and Reston, Northern Virginia. So this is my home. But
And
yeah,
I'm shocked there for that.
I
Yeah.
am. That
Same.
is. That
I
is.
am I am 53 years old and I can tell you that they don't mess with me. They look at me like, yeah, yeah, nah, almost like I'm a Martian or some shit.
Oh,
Wow. Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, and
It's all
and
good.
I mean, that's a very different experience than I have, and I can say that pre-dreads, I got a different vibe. I would generally get more light-skinned women. Now with dread, since I've had my hair dreaded, I get everything. To Laney's point, it's not white, um, black, Hispanic, Asian, anything. It doesn't matter. It's more about, and to your point about the exoticness looking of it, I think that's what it is because some people try to figure out, and even though a lot of people know that I'm black, obviously, the people who aren't familiar with black people wonder, oh, well, you must be mixed with something. You know,
Mm.
what are you Caribbean, or are you half white or whatever? Because they look at my nose and they try to figure it out. And I'm like, I have dreadlocks and a big ass nose and big lips. What the hell? I don't get it. But you know, for somebody that's uneducated, they don't really understand that. So like I said, now I get everything. But when I was younger, it was primarily light skinned women. So it's just, and I don't know if that was environment or just what was attracted to me, but that's generally what came to me.
So
Wow.
what do you think
Yeah.
of the flip of that? Because men always be like, I don't got no, I like who likes me.
Yeah.
But in your early years, what were your preferences?
Oh, for me,
And
it
what
was
are
light
they
skinned
now?
women. Yeah, because I was socialized and my brain was washed that way, and that's kind of where I was. I would let me say this: my actual preference being younger was someone my same skin color, but what I went after generally was the woman that everybody else wanted. So meaning that my thing and the way that I would hunt would be whoever was the most popular, the hottest chick that everybody was sought after. That's who I would go after.
I
And
looked at everybody like the damn United Nations, nation of Benetton and everything. I didn't give a damn who you were, what color you were, and all that other mess. If I was digging, if I liked the way you looked, there was something about you, and I was pulled towards you, I was gonna go at you.
Lenny,
Yeah.
somebody asked Lenny, somebody said, come to New York, you ain't gonna have no problem getting a black woman. But
Oh, shit.
another question was, Lenny, what
you,
vibes are you giving off to black women?
I don't. What type of vibes do I give off to black women? I give off my vibes. I give off my vibes to black, white, Asian. I don't give a damn. I give off my vibes. I don't walk into different rooms and different pockets of people and act different.
Mm.
I don't. What you see is what you get. Now, once the alcohol starts flowing and we blowing some trees or something like that, I'm gonna read the room and I'm going to adjust to you. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to change or compromise who I am. And if at the end of the day, if you like the vibe I'm giving off, let's kick it. Let's have a good ass time. Let's vibe. Let's flirt. Let's have shit. I don't.
Well,
So
I was looking.
we have about one more minute.
I was looking for a photo of me when I was young with one of my beaux, and I found it. So I want to show you. I think I was about 18, if you can see.
look at Miss Betty.
Yeah, I would have
Always
kissed
cute.
on you.
Yes, absolutely, Miss Betty. You would have been getting it.
Aw, Miss Betty.
And
Yeah.
Miss
so,
Betty, you can get kissed on right now too.
I was just thinking I couldn't find I didn't want to get up and leave and find a picture of Brian. But when I was younger, the like I said, the Latino boys and the light skinned boys, they came to me and they would always say, well, Betty is color struck. And I think even then I was thinking, look, I like who likes me. Okay. They like me, I like them. And even when my father was protesting, it was like, but daddy, you got mom, and I'm still trying to be out here finding somebody. So I'm just saying to you that I think that you have these serious preferences when you're young, and after you mature a little bit, you say, baby, does he like me? Does he have a good conversation?
Right.
What's he about? I mean, because then you have more sticks to measure by.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's sort
I
of like
think
at 50 years old, whoever you meet ought to have some sticks that you can measure them by. Like, well, what's he been doing for 50 years? What is he about?
right.
And like I always say to y'all, he could be the bus driver. You get on the bus every day, and the bus driver, he's a responsible guy. He got a job. But when you're younger, girl, and if he don't have this and that, and he don't have that, and like
Mm-hmm.
my friend
Yeah.
Michael said, to
So
this
I have a final question.
Michael asked her, "What do you bring to the
Okay.
table?"
So
when
Miss
you
Betty, I have one more question because we have less than a minute. Actually, we're a little bit over time, but I just really quickly, how do we change this mentality in our community? Like what is the first step? Just the first step.
For
I
me,
think,
it's
go
stopping
ahead,
it right.
Sunshine.
Whenever you recognize it, call it out.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Whenever you recognize it, or when somebody brings it to you, you call it out
Mm.
right there and then.
I think it starts with the children. I think it's what you tell your kids. about themselves, whatever they look like, what you tell them about themselves and how you feel about how they look and how the family treats them is going to have the biggest impact, whether they're light or dark, on how they navigate the world.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it's kind of what Lenny talked about too, is, and Miss Betty just said it, that it goes back to how you educate your kids, how you educate all the young people around you, and how you move and how you be an example of here's why I'm not going to do that, or here's why I see something different from that. You got to be the example and live it and teach it.
And stop with the bullshit. Just stop perpetuating the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're dark skinned, light skinned, whatever. If you don't want a light skinned dude come at you talking about your skin complexion, understand that that's how we feel on the flip side. You don't want it, we don't want it. Let's meet in the middle, peace, and
Peace
all
out.
that unnecessary
Love
mess.
and chicken grease. Exactly.
Lenny, it was refreshing actually hearing from someone from a lighter hue and some of the things, because I think everybody just assumed if you're light, you have no issues. And I'm glad that you actually talked about it, and it's real.
Look, I got more than I got volumes, baby. I got volumes in my shit.
Somebody said Miss Betty always, all of y'all dropped some gems tonight. Thank you so much, Miss Betty. It's always an honor.
Party, I'm gonna try to find some. I'll try to find some
Yes.
of
Yes.
Thank you, Miss Betty, for segueing us into the after party. Lenny Lowe, you bought the shit. You bought the truth as always. Thank
Love
you.
it.
Yes,
Thank
Lenny
you.
Lowe is on our live show that we're actually airing November 17th.
Oh, shucks.
Yes.
So I gotta check it out. Keith, sweetheart, thank you.
Always. No worries.
My
Cool,
Happy.
Keith.
sunshine, my sunshine,
brother?
my sunshine. I'll see y'all next week. Actually, we may be live next week. No?
Maybe.
We may be. So, all right, y'all.
All right.
See y'all in the after party.
Be good, people.
Bye.
Bye.